Okay, I'm recording.
All right, let's get started. Oh, I'm going to try something. Here we go.
Oh, no.
Oh, no,
Oh,
full
no.
screen.
Yeah.
It worked.
So speaker is full screen now, Gary?
Yeah, I can see my whole screen like this big
Oh, I see what you're saying.
instead of being up in the very corner like up here.
Because there's also, right, there's at least on the iPad things, there's a switch to active speaker. So the speaker can get the full screen, and then there's a little postage stamp of yourself down in the corner.
I don't have that. Anyway, has anyone spoken with Rodney?
Okay. Yes, I did this morning.
Give us a
He
report.
said he didn't get too much from the storm last.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Mike,
Yes.
you're
Can't
breaking
hear me?
up. So do you want to turn off your picture and just try audio while you're reporting?
I don't know how to do
Just a minute, I'll help you.
that. Like
There
that.
you go. There, that's better.
Can you hear any better?
A little bit.
Yeah.
You sound great.
Thank you. Rodney said didn't get too much damage last night. Couple spots. Up by Mrs. Russell up on Russell Road there, I guess. Up by Sargent's. I didn't quite understand where it was, but I guess they've been having a problem up there with water. And anyways, he got permission from a landowner to run a culvert under that's gonna take care of half the water that comes down the hill. So I guess apparently there's never been a culvert there before. So he's gonna do that. And Smith's supposed to start on sand in a couple of weeks. And they blew a tire on the roadside mower, but I got one coming. And he said everything else was going pretty good.
Could you repeat the roadside mower thing?
They had a flat tire on the back of it.
Okay.
And so he called me up and I ordered the tire. I should have it.
Okay.
And that's all I got.
Who puts the tire on? Does Dan Smith do that, or do they do it at the garage? Or
I think they do it at the garage.
wow,
All right.
kind of like a grader tire, right?
Probably easier than a grader tire, actually.
Probably, yeah.
Mike, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, you're
Can't
done
hear me?
off and on.
Really?
Okay, well,
I don't know what to tell you.
that sounds good.
Half of it sounded good anyways.
Okay, what next, Madam Assistant?
Casella, sorry. Pricing and, oh my gosh, Gary, I know how you got your little thumbnail people on the side of your screen. I'm getting the same thing right now. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. Sorry. Casella, I sent you guys, we meant to do this a while ago, I think. Mitch Taylor was gonna send us pricing from transfer stations that were similar size to us. So he did that, and I think I forwarded you the spreadsheet.
The
From Bradford.
Bradford thing.
Right. He's the one that chose Bradford. He said they have a similar output to you guys. And then I was hoping, there's also, we have to sign, not we, you guys have to sign the Casella contract for this year. I have it in electronic format, so I will find it. But if you want to talk about price, you can do that.
It seemed
We
like
can't really negotiate the price, can we?
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant
This is just guidelines for us, right?
yeah, I just meant prices at the transfer station. I remember a while ago when you were hiring Mike, it was talked about like, oh, we should probably, nobody seems to really know what everything is supposed to cost at the transfer station. There should be a sign and we should like solidify the prices at the transfer station. So that's why I sent that to you if you wanted to do it.
do you know if Bradford has the same payment system we do, or?
You mean in terms with tickets and stuff?
Yeah.
I don't. All I know is what Mitch sent to us. It looks to me like looks like they do cash because they have got 75% increments.
Well, it looked good to me, except for I think we need to stay in like round dollar increments. It would be a lot easier that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I really liked the way they had washers a price and dryers a price and bags and double bags and 30-gallon bags and 50-gallon bags are all a different price. But it would make it more complicated for Mike at the dump. But maybe we need to do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does Bradford have signage to support that spreadsheet?
I don't know.
Yeah. Did Mike, Brenda, maybe you know more about this. I just talked to Mike briefly on Saturday, but he said he was going to get us sort of a list of some of the signage that he would recommend.
Is he going to participate in this meeting tonight? What do you know, Jillian?
No, he didn't get in touch, and I did not have time to get in touch with him today.
He was supposed to talk to us tonight, but
Maybe tomorrow.
He did give me one phone number, and I sent it to you, Jillian, in case it was his home phone.
I know. I was hoping he would just come to me and take care of it. I just didn't. I've got way too much going on to remember to have called him. Sorry. But I also, Gary, I thought, did you have a conversation with him at all on Saturday about what okay, maybe.
I did, but I told him to basically gather all his thoughts and come to our meeting tonight.
Okay.
So it isn't working out well.
Okay.
But I or someone else can talk to him and without him coming to a meeting and maybe get the idea of what he wants or what he thinks. And the other thing was it's been about 6 months, maybe plus or minus since he started, and we need to just have a talk with him and just to see what he thinks of the whole operation and if we need improvements here, there, or whatever. So.
Yeah. All right. I will try harder to get in touch with him.
Well, okay. Well, if you don't do it, let me know and I can make an effort too. So.
Okay.
Because I don't spend near enough time on the phone now. So.
Me neither.
You're in Zoom meetings.
Yeah.
Well, and if I catch him in a slow spot on a Wednesday or Saturday, I can just go station to station around with him and see what he says as far as, what would help just educate people so we don't have, recycling spoiled or people just dropping old VCRs off in the shed, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I did also get I'm sorry, language from Kathleen Gent from CBS WMD for signage. So she said, if you have the option of fining people, I would suggest listing $500 fine for dumping or whatever the amount is. And then in the letter that we got from, I think it must have been the state that covered e-waste, there was a list of places that it could be dropped off. And Kathleen suggested the additional recycling collection center in Barry, Randolph transfer station, I guess, collects e-waste. So I can ask Rodney to make a sign if you want with that on it. With that, I guess that would go in front of the shed where people dump things typically. And then I was gonna wait. I sort of wanted to do a batch of signs because I was waiting for pricing of stuff to hang, and then any other information that we want hung up on a sign at the transfer station. I was just hoping to order all the signs at once.
That makes sense.
Yeah, there's a sign basically that has nothing on it now to the left of where you enter the transfer station. And Mike suggested we could put stuff on there. And I think it'd be neat to have a bulletin board just for odd and random things of hazardous waste day or July 4th, no dump or whatever like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And off subject a little bit before I forget, Rodney has ordered the signs for no dumping along the roads where we wanted them. He just wants to know for sure where they want to be.
Okay.
And I couldn't remember exactly where they were supposed to be.
Falls Hill.
Yeah.
Was it Falls Hill and
Gage?
And Gage?
Yeah, there's a turnaround, I guess, on Gage. That's where I haven't seen either of these spots either, so I guess I'm not the best person to describe it.
But does Falls Hill meet Gage Road? I didn't think it did. But...
No, they're two different spots.
They're two different spots.
Okay. So where on Falls Hill?
That oh my gosh, who was I talking to? Rodney seemed to know where I was talking about, or where the person who called to complain about the dumping was talking about on Falls Hill. There's someone who has routinely put trash there. And I thought Rodney knew where I was talking about, so I didn't find clarification. I can try and I can try to find the number of the person that called to make the complaint and get a more specific description of the area from her.
Wasn't Gage Road where there was a turnaround or something?
That's Gage Road, right. So that Rick Scully reported that one, and that's a turnaround, and that's where the love seat was. That same, earlier that week, I got a call from someone who hikes on what she's called the Kelsey Mountain Trailhead.
Oh, okay.
That is on Falls Hill Road. And when I was describing it to Rodney, he was like, oh yeah, I know where that is. I know where she's talking about.
Yeah, it's where the sharp corner is where the logger is logging now.
Before you go up the
Okay.
hill.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I think he'll know where the turnaround on Gage Road is too.
Yep. Okay. Well, I'll put my star in front of that. I'll contact him tomorrow and
Okay.
tell him that.
I also just, the Casella contract is, I just forwarded it to your emails. You don't need to review it right now, but, I guess maybe if you want to sign it, you are going to have to approve it. But I can leave it out for you in Becky's office. I should have forwarded it to you sooner. I'm sorry.
So you want us to come in this week and sign it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And actually it's due by August 1st. Or that's when it starts. So we have another cycle if you want to take more time to review it and vote to sign it at the next meeting.
But let's do that. Then it's actually something we actually have a chance to read before we say we're going to sign it.
Yeah. So it's in your email. I just forwarded it to you just now.
And if they needed it, you could always, once we sign it, scan it and just send it to them, at least so they have it.
Right. Yeah. And then they'll sign it and send it back. They haven't signed it yet.
Oh, okay.
But I was hoping to nail down pricing for the transfer station today, if that was, well, I put it on the agenda, so.
I didn't go over that enough to just make a logical decision tonight, so.
Okay.
Does Casella need to know that, Jillian?
No, not at all. It was just my memory being like, oh, that was something that you guys wanted to address. And Mitch was emailing me about the contract. So I was like, oh, I remembered. And we're trying to do a new batch of signs and do better at communicating about the transfer station. And people ask me all the time for pricing when they're buying dump tickets. And sometimes I don't know the answer. So I just thought it would be good.
Is that something then also at the next meeting we could nail those down? I mean, before we do the signs, obviously.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well,
just whether we changed the prices, Gary, do you remember?
Not in a long time.
Yeah.
But I think we just need to nail down, like, what's a pickup load, if we want to allow pickup loads, and I mean, if they have different size bags, just so Mike can have a clear, instead of Mike having to use his judgment on how much the pickup load is or whatever, then he can have something to fall back on.
Yeah. And just educationally, right? Like no electronics. I don't know how tires really work with different size tires, metals, and all the white recycling, like the refrigerators and that kind of stuff too.
Right. Yeah, because I think tires are still $2 a piece, which is, but $2 there. So I mean, it ought to be, if it's $2 for a car tire, it ought to be $10 for a tractor tire or something.
Right, and I remember Bert talking about that occasionally, but there's no signage there, so it was just Bert making it up. And then what goes in that roll off, the large item roll off, and how those are priced, I have no idea.
Right, me neither.
A stroller versus a sectional couch. I mean, they're all the same. I have no idea.
It's going to be really, really, really important. Okay.
Well, I'll make sure I talk to Mike about that.
We'll look at your microscope and see if I can figure it out. Okay.
We seem to have lost the vice chair here too.
Yeah. You got a better offer, I guess.
Yeah.
Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
That was Mike who just called me. He can't get on his computer now. He said he thinks he got hit by a missile in West Tunbridge.
Again.
I told him to try to call in with his phone. So.
Is that different information, Jillian?
It's all in the same invitation that I copy and paste. It's just like further down, you have to dial a certain number. And then I guess probably type in the password or something. Okay, so we're doing the contract and transfer station prices next meeting.
Yep.
And Mike will be there.
We hope.
And we'll finalize the signage. How about that? Give us the deadline.
Okay.
Yep. All right. What's next?
I think recreation. Yep. Recreation Commission discussion.
Okay.
Is that the official name, by the way, Recreation Commission?
Is it a commission?
It's been called Recreation Department, Recreation Commission. I don't think we ever really figured that out.
Yeah.
It was its own entity at one point, and then at some point it became under the town. I think when the town started help paying for the maintenance of the field, it became under the town's umbrella. But before it was its own entity. But I sometime when Thornton was running it, became when, remember, just Thornton was the director. They hired Thornton to be the rec director. I think he got paid like $6,000 a year. And at that point, it became under the town because nobody was doing it and they hired somebody to do it. I think this is how that went. To the best of my history. Maybe somebody else has a different history or knows. I asked Gordy about it and he wasn't really sure either how it went that way.
When I was trying to find your number too, Kathy, I was looking, I mean, Tunbridge has committees and they have commissions and I don't know where departments fall, but it seems like it sort of was, it wasn't easy to find anyway.
I think it's on the Tunbridge Town website under Tunbridge Recreation Department, and Kevin's
Right.
name was on there, and I think it was changed to my name. So it's
No,
on our
eventually-
town website.
Right, I eventually found it, but it wasn't under commissions and I think it wasn't under select board.
Yeah.
It just, because I think what you're saying of the history of it, I think it has its own unique status.
Unique is a word. So some people are on tonight with me that are part of the softball community. They're captains from teams. They have been to other softball tournaments, other softball things. I know you guys saw stuff on Saturday. I don't want to say stuff, but I know there was a lot of people there on Saturday. And I think the road was where the big problem was, where you have to drive right through, which you couldn't see beyond the road, that people were doing much better than the people in the road. But there was still a lot of people there and people not wearing masks. But anyway, that's why we're here for the discussion tonight. They have some ideas which I didn't even think of on how we could do things better. So I thought if they came and shared and we had a conversation, we could figure some more things out.
Okay, well,
Does that work for you guys? I mean, that's
Okay.
kind of where we're at. Brenda came down on Sunday, and it was a much different situation, right, Brenda?
Yeah, Sunday was more controlled. We still have some questions to address.
Yes, absolutely. But absolutely. Yep.
Yep.
So
Nope, not
Kathy,
saying that
The
solved
road was
everything,
open
but
on Sunday. A lot less people, more mask wearing.
go ahead.
Kathy, I just wanted Kathy to start with just describing how you think the tournament went as far as safety and you know what we had discussed earlier of governor's guidelines, how the players felt.
well, some of the players are here, so I'll let them speak for themselves. I think that Matt and I bit off more than we could chew that first tournament. I think we needed more players to take responsibility and the captains of those teams to help us with that. As far as safety and how I think people felt, I don't think anybody felt unsafe. Most of those people are near each other anyway, and most of the people, I know you couldn't tell people apart because there's not uniforms and stuff, but they were staying in their own area. And if it's okay, I'll let some of them speak to that so that it's not just coming from me how I felt that it went. These are people that were all there on Saturday. But the road is a problem, and they have suggestions for that too. Right, guys?
Yes.
Okay, someone speak up.
Hi, I'm Christina Madore. I live in South Royalton, and I am the one requesting your field for next weekend for the Baden tournament. So my team stayed down in the right corner by the porta potty. We wore a mask if we left our area, but we didn't leave our area very often. It was very hot and muggy, so I did not wear it while I was playing. But I had it around my neck. And I know, like, we have discussed and tried to come up with all kinds of things to help, like, to do things better and differently, using that this past weekend as, like, a trial and error type of thing, because, you know, we're the first ones around here. There's a lot of tournaments going around in the state of Vermont. There's been some in Windsor, Vermont, Chester, Vermont. There's one this weekend in Campersville and Salisbury, Vermont. But there's been nothing really close to our area. So I think it was a big thing, and I think we probably should have grouped together before so we could all help Kathy and Matt out. I mean, I tried to keep track of my own team, but it, you know, I wasn't really keeping track of everybody else. And I saw John Durkee on Sunday, and I talked with him because he pulled in right next to where we're sitting. But I don't know if anybody else has more they want to input. But.
I know, Todd, you had some ideas.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Thanks for taking the time to chat with us. Yeah, I think there was. I think you have it at most events like that where people, they just get out of hand, and it was hard to rein people in. But there was no. I wasn't there for most of the day on Saturday. I left at about 2 o'clock. So I missed, when I was there, everybody was really doing a good job. But as things get in the evening, I guess it feels a little bit more out of control. So some of the thoughts that I had just kind of right out of the gate was staking off areas for individual teams. And basically, you know, you pick numbers out of a hat to pick your spot in the tournament, and just give them a designated area that they are supposed to be in. And then it gives you the ability to police where they're going. You know, if there's nobody in that area and they're supposed to be in that area, you can go over and speak to them and ask them very politely and most of the time they're going to get back in that area. But having the ability to just say, if you don't want to be here and abide by the guidelines that are laid out to keep everybody safe, just go home. Like, there's no reason to have people have the attitude that they don't have to do what is being asked. It's very simple. Like, you're an adult, don't play in the road. Like, when people are asking you to stay out of the road, just stay out of the road. And if you can't do that, I'm happy to be part of the tournament. I've been part of it since Jim passed, and I don't mind being that guy that goes around. I've been in the community my whole life, especially in the softball community for the last 25 years. I have a little stronger of a voice than somebody just randomly going around, and I think people will listen to me when I say, you know, do the right thing or leave, and I'll have support in that too. But that's really what it comes down to. I mean, you're always going to have people that are just want to buck the system and say whatever they want to say. But another idea is, you know, you have to sign a roster. I think we just buy some disposable masks and just give 15 masks to everybody. There shouldn't be an excuse that you don't have one. Just give one to everybody. They're $10 for 50. I don't mind buying them and putting them in the packet.
Todd, we did have masks available and for sale.
Yeah, yep, I totally agree. If you hand them to the captain and say, your team now has no excuse not to have a mask. I think that'll be a little easier to, you know, than oh, I forgot mine. Well, here's another one.
Also, just to put in, we have less teams in the Fadden than there was this past weekend at this point. So we only have 10 teams. We capped it at 10.
And we can use the Chelsea field for some games, which helped on Sunday.
Yeah.
Because then not everybody needs to be waiting for a game in Tunbridge.
And also, I can add to that too, that to limit the stuff in the road, have a designated area to have cornhole and stuff, like up by the pool area or by where, like Sunny's camp is, we can have designated spots for these to be going on, so we are not in the road, and kind of take a little bit more effort into the parking situation too, to make sure people aren't parked behind cars and stuff. I think that would take a lot away from that as well.
Or on the bridge. Nobody should have parked on the bridge.
Right. Yes. And then as far as like, so I play in Barrie, and I know somebody else in the chat does too. We play Friday nights where masks are mandatory to keep on you. You do not have to wear them, but you have to have them physically on you to be on the softball field. And we made that. We had that for teams. We asked them to have masks on them while we played. And some people did wear it was kind of just like a discretion thing at that point, I think.
Any other comments?
Does anybody else on here have yeah.
The only other comment I think that I can speak for a lot of people is just people's judgments on things, like really limiting people's behaviors. If we notice people are starting to get rowdy, just trying to limit that ahead of time before it gets out of control, where we can't control it to a certain point, if that makes sense.
Yes, totally. And the team that was right in the road and gave a lot of issues to somebody, they're not part of our tournament. Their team is not in our tournament. I checked that with Kathy on Sunday to make sure that whoever had put that team in was not on my list.
And Brenda, we found out who the person was that was not polite to you, and the men's league has dealt with that. So they have consequences.
Yes, we made sure to address very, very
quickly. Can't force them to apologize or do any of those things, but for me, no, that's not the way we treat people. The people that play softball are largely not like that, I believe, and he was spoken to, and we're sorry he said that.
Oh.
So, Kathy, I just have a question.
Yeah.
You know, when I was looking through the governor's recommends, and even it was in an earlier email you sent, what are we to make of the governor saying jamboree style tournaments aren't permitted, and that will be revisited August 1st?
Well, see, there's two conflicting things. There's 150 people, or there's no jamboree style tournaments. I mean, I don't know. I thought one eliminated the other, because now you can't do a tournament if you can't have more than 25 people. So when he lifted it from 25 people, and I couldn't find that rule anywhere, other than I couldn't even find it on the leagues of cities and towns, which I know they told you that that was what their rule they was following, but I tried to go on there and find it to see if I could find more details about it, and I couldn't find it on their site.
Brenda, did you find any clarification on that?
Yeah, I called the state, and as far as anybody could tell me, that still stands, and that was good as of July 10th. So it's somewhat recent. It's under sports, organized sports, including youth leagues, adult leagues, practice, games, and tournaments.
So just clarify for me, it's okay to have a single game. It's just not okay to have a tournament where there's multiple games.
That's what it looks like. They don't want multiple teams there. One plays like you did on Sunday, Kathy. There's a team playing another team, and then they leave.
Okay.
No tailgating. They list that. No hanging out before or after.
Kathy, I actually
spitting.
copied. I can easily send you the chunk of what Brenda's reading. I can just email it to you right now. I have it.
Okay.
In an email.
So Brenda, does that mean like we saw Sunday, there was actually multiple games played at the ball field, but they were all separate games? Is that okay, or is that not okay?
Kathy, if I had it right, what you were doing down there was you had one team that was on hold but you kept them way over on the other side.
We kept everybody separate on Sunday that was there.
And after they got through, you asked them to leave.
Yep.
Right.
If you were out, you couldn't stay around and watch games. You had to leave. When you were done, you couldn't stay around and you had to leave. And I went around and enforced that.
And that actually
A lot of teams will stay after they're out of the tournament just to watch the results of the tournament and see how it goes, because you're down doing softball. It's part of the fun of the game. But we asked so the numbers would continue to go down and there'd be much less people that you leave. And like I said, with the Chelsea field, we were able to space it apart more. So you weren't back to back with games. So then you didn't need to be there so early. You know what I mean? If you've got to take the field in 5 minutes, you have to be right there. So can be a clump of people together trying to switch out who's playing. So if you spread it out over more than one field, and we've asked Chelsea, and I believe, Marissa, have you heard?
They were actually asking the rec committee was asking the select board. The rec committee was fine with it, so then they were going to just double check with the select board in Chelsea. I do know, like, when we do our berry leagues, we do have more than two teams there at a time, and that's a weekly thing. We have 4 or 5 teams on the field at one time, but we all stay in our own areas while we're waiting for games to be played or waiting for our game to be coming about. And we've gotten approval through the town and checked with just all the different things to make sure we're following it, like Katie said, where we all have to carry a mask on us at all times. It doesn't have to be on our face unless we're like walking away from our team and going to do something away from the group of people that we're with.
Would it help if I found out some of these other places that are actually having these type of games, how they found out they could start doing it? Because they're advertised. I could show you, I got invited to 3 or 4 of them over the weekend to bring my team to. So I know it's not, I wasn't a rebel. I wasn't the only person thinking that we were going to have a tournament in Little Tunbridge. I wasn't being a rebel, guys.
Well, and the other hard part is I have 5 children. A lot of people have kids who play. So I think that was a really hard thing for some of us to go through. I didn't have my kids over the weekend, but it was a hard thing for some of the parents. Of what am I supposed to do with my kids? Are we not allowed to let them go play in the playground? So that was a huge issue too. Like, what do we tell our children if we're not even allowed to leave a secluded area, 5 or 6 years old?
Well, the thing about it is there are rules, and you must adhere to the rules, or you might as well not be there. And it's awful to not have your kids there, but if the rules are you can't just commingle, then I guess you can't bring your kids.
Yeah. Well, I think part of what you were seeing, there was commingling going on, but people weren't wearing masks. And I think that's where it became more of an issue for everybody. Like, if you're sitting in your own area with your group of people, with your cohort that you're with all the time, then if you're not wearing a mask, I don't see why you would need to wear a mask sitting under your tent in your own cohort with people, if it's staked off and you're far enough apart from each other.
Well, the big comment I got from quite a few people was that there was no difference in what they saw last Saturday from what they saw last year. And there is a pandemic going on, and you really need to make an effort to maybe not do as much as you did last year, as much fun stuff. And so that's what got under people's skin. Right.
And I think, like, the cornhole and stuff going on the road, that doesn't need to happen. Maybe you need to stay in your area and not participate in those things for now. And definitely not in the road. And people shouldn't be hanging. I think that was the worst part of the whole thing. If you guys had got out of your car and gone on to the field area, you would have seen more people doing the right thing. You saw the people in the road that were absolutely doing the wrong thing. I was, Matt and I took off more than we could chew. I wasn't walking up and down the road. I was going to the different tents. I was going onto the field. I was checking with people right behind the backstop. So I was up at the Cook Shack. Not having Kevin and Margaret at the tournament it's huge. It was a huge thing. And I think we needed to recruit more help than we did.
I did walk around and specify places. Like if people came down to talk to you, I asked them to mask on them, not like wearing them, not just on them. So if anybody went to like the little bench area, I made it known that people needed to take the precautions as we stated to start the tournament. So that I did make sure I did.
But we did have a few people in the road that were definitely not doing what they were supposed to. And that's what you would have seen driving through. That's what the whole community saw driving through. So I understand where you got your complaints, Gary.
Yep.
I get it. I understand that. I'm not denying that should have been nipped in the bud. I do think we need to address parking for our tournaments in general anyway. I think Matt and Kevin had talked about some ideas around how we could improve parking and we just never got to there. And I think maybe we need to, maybe not today, but we need to address maybe making that better so that even when things do go back to normal, we'll have better parking and that won't become an issue.
Well, in my opinion if we allow you to have a tournament next weekend, it needs to really look a lot different than it did last Saturday. It needs to look as good or better than last Sunday, because people are going to be harassing me about what are you doing, letting them do it 2 weekends in a row. And I don't want that.
Yeah, and I can chime in. I have continued even tonight as I was getting ready to come here. I had 6 young men who were pretty annoyed. I thought they were getting ready to jump on me about we got to let the tournament happen, but they were going back and forth down there, going to the dump and to Gordy's place, and they were furious. And one of the things you have to own, and I think you are, is that Sunday they didn't know that I wasn't anything but a townsperson with my mask on going to recycling. When the one person called me the P word, and then further down when I went to take a picture of the bottleneck in the road that Gary, you had trouble getting through, that's when an individual, a couple, had nothing to do with that picture, gave me the finger. And when I said, why'd you do that? And then the other guy said, you want to see the 5 more in your face? I just left. And I thought, what if the townspeople are being treated like that? And I don't know, that's not good when they're going down the station.
Yep, that's totally out of line.
I know alcohol played a part. You know, a lot of it. I get it. I just went home. I decided I'm not going any further. I'm just going to go in the woods for a walk. Calm down. But the other thing to go along with Gary on Sunday, if something like Gary said, we've got to follow the guidelines. We're making people go to the dump and they're sitting in line idling with their mask on. And they were like, what the heck? I just drove through the beaches of Florida down there, and then you're making me wait in line for half an hour to recycle. You're following the rules on one thing, you got to follow the rules on the other. So we have to look at, we need to make sure you get these things that we've been looking at, I think.
Yep, and
I don't know how we can bend, even if other people are doing tournaments, that may not be what the governor is suggesting.
Right, and I think if you look at the people on the call, guys, all of these people will be at that tournament and they all are offering to make sure we come up with the things we've been talking about, staking off the areas, keeping people in the areas, policing the areas. So it won't just be me trying to run up and help at the Cook Shack and Matt in the Cook Shack trying to also make sure what everybody's doing down on the field. I talked to Betsy Race for the contact tracing and people coming in. She has some ideas about how we can better do that. I mean, we know we have the waiver, but she has some other ideas, which I told her I was open to and I would get with her on that. So we had a long conversation, which I need to have another conversation with her, depending on how this goes, to figure out how we're going to do that with her.
And to the select board, I guess, and to Kathy, after learning a lot on Saturday and thinking about it, and a couple of comments that were made later on to me, just input from people. The waiver, we might want to revisit that and how it's worded, because a couple of people read that and they said, well, I signed a waiver, or it's not any liability on the town of Tunbridge if I get COVID or you get COVID. I've already got the waiver, so I can do what I want. And I don't think that's the point of what the town's trying to do. We're also trying to stop a pandemic. We're trying to make sure our schools get to open if they can. We're trying to make sure businesses happen. What's the best way to do it? We don't want to be the next, hotspot in the state that they've got to come in and shut down. So how do we make this work? And it says in here that for mask wearing and distancing, it's really family members, more people who are really tight that can be near one another without mask. And then everybody else is going to be socially distancing, even if they're on the same team. They normally may not. So there's a little bit more to it. And I don't know, Gary, you in the select board, John and Mike, you have to figure out how close to these guidelines you want to follow. And Sunday I thought was reasonable. I can see where it'd be an angst for you guys doing a tournament where other people don't get to watch, but it is a pandemic. Again, it's not going to look the same for a year. We gotta bear with this a bit. But I like the way Sunday was. Plus the road was open, Kathy. It looked great.
I know. So I'm just saying that Saturday was a live and learn. I wish one of you guys would have stopped. I didn't mean to not get your email, but no, I didn't see or get to talk to any of you. I didn't get an email till I got home at 10 o'clock at night. That's how much time I put into this. We got together. I talked to the captains. I actually made a pretty loud statement on the field about people were going to do things right or they were going to leave because it was my butt on the line now. So I think everybody got behind me and said, okay, we need to do this right. And I think the people that are here on the phone, and I think many other people, I talked to lots of other people and they said, okay, we need to figure out how to do it better. I didn't invite all of them on the phone because I thought you guys might not want to do that. But the people that I know that said they were willing and have been other places where they're doing it would come on tonight and we'll be there. Christine is hosting this tournament that they want to have on our field. And Marisa has talked to Chelsea, so we're going to find out about that for sure. I don't know what other information you want from me other than I think we are posed in a position to do it a lot better. And I think we could maybe give you some more as we get together and talk about it. We could come back to you with some written out details about what we're going to do and then actually be able to enforce it.
Kathy, what are your estimates to how many people were there, do you think, on Saturday?
I would say, because not all teams were there, so I would guess probably 100 people.
At the height of the day, there were only 100 people?
I would say at the height of the day, probably 100 people, yeah.
If every team was there, it was 12 teams in the tournament, and it's 10 to 12 per team. And then you sprinkle in a few spectators for each. I would say 100's a little low, but it was definitely under 150 for sure. But it's also not a huge space. Having some dialogue that limits the number of spectators would be appropriate too, I think.
And if we do get to happen to have that second field, that's half of our teams at one field, which is, 10, 12 people per team. So 5 teams at each field. Still we would be under that no matter what. And the reality is, like, a lot of people that do these tournaments are there because they're passionate about these tournaments. Like, it's something, like, for me personally, it's something I mentally need to do because it brings my spirits up instead of being in a cubicle all day. But most people are going to be able to do, like, they'll abide by whatever they need to do to make it so that they can play these tournaments. Like, this is a big part of our community, and it's a big thing that brings us together. And we have the few bad apples, and we just don't want those few bad apples to ruin these opportunities for us to get out and to experience more of our community events.
Yep. Christina, originally the tournament you're hosting was going to be in Royalton, and now it's change to Tunbridge?
Yes, because South Royalton has one Planet at the school.
Yeah.
So they have them there on Monday. And their thing was, if by chance somebody had it and it's in the air or whatever for 24 hours and the kids are there Monday, that was their biggest concern because they have one Planet there.
I get it.
And it's a school field, so it falls under VPA.
Yes, and just, I don't know if you guys on the Tunbridge Select Board know what this tournament is for. It's called the James Fadden Memorial Tournament, and it goes to two scholarships for graduating seniors from the White River Valley Union High School.
Yeah, and my daughter got it last year, and I'm hoping my son gets it this year. So we really need to make this happen.
Yeah, my daughter got it 4 years ago, and my son is in the same class as Todd. So we're really hoping we can get this.
No, I think that is relevant though to say that it is more. This last weekend was too. It was the first one after Kevin's passing. But the Fadden is.
This will be the 19th year of the Fadden tournament this summer.
Yeah, and it's definitely the atmosphere is different than every tournament that I go to. I've played in tournaments across the country. Like the camaraderie at this one is different than anywhere else. And if you ask somebody to do something, I guarantee they're going to do it. Especially if Steve, which is James's son, if he's here and he asks you to do something, they'll jump through a ring of fire for him because that's why they're there. So I really think the craziness that I heard about on Saturday. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen if I was there on Saturday, but I bet it wouldn't happen as long as if I was there on Saturday. That just doesn't. That's not what that stuff is about, and it's impossible for one person to police. It truly takes everybody to help run something like this. And Matt and Kathy were so undergunned being two people. And I honestly wish I was there to help her on Saturday because Sunday was, when I left on Saturday, it was fine. And when I got there and was there on Sunday, it was great. But there was this apparently a void in the middle that I missed that was atrocious. And that is not what any of this is about or should be.
So, Todd, just out of curiosity, do you think what you're thinking about could work with this one? And I kind of assuming that you guys didn't find this, so let me just read it. Competition between Vermont clubs, i.e. inter-squad games, may resume July 1st, limited to individual matches or sporting events. Jamboree or tournament-style play, one team playing multiple games versus multiple opponents in a single day or weekend is not currently permitted. This will be reevaluated on August 1st. Is that something we can work with?
I think so with the two fields. It's semantics at that point, and making sure people vacate the premises. They don't want this hanging around and the cornhole in the road that happens at tournaments. They want people to get rid of it's the show up, play, and leave. And we need to do that.
Which is what we were doing on Sunday, Brenda.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Two fields will make that much easier. Trying to get 12 teams in a tournament style thing on Saturday and Sunday on one field that's as small as Tunbridge is. You can't go anywhere at the Tunbridge field. Chelsea, you can go out to over by the treatment center, the water treatment center. Like you can go hundreds of feet away. You can't go 200 feet without being back at the beginning in Tunbridge.
Just don't paddle in the brown water.
I'm glad they moved that Little League field.
And it's much easier to space things out if we have more than one field. If you're trying to get it all on one field, you can't space the games apart at all. Like they have to be back to back to back, and that's tournament style also. So that helps with that.
Todd, are there different rules for the VPA?
I think the school just is able to say they can fall behind the VPA because the VPA isn't running anything right now.
I got it.
So there's no organized sports through the VPA still right now.
Right.
Okay, I don't know if we can talk anymore or not.
Well, I'm over in Rutland and I have an hour drive home, but I didn't want to be late, so I just stuck at the job site. So I don't mind not talking anymore.
Well, to be honest, what Brenda just read would make me inclined to say no tournaments until the state reevaluates on August 1st. But because things went so well on Sunday, I kind of want to, I don't know, give you the benefit of the doubt and extend my hand and my heart and all that stuff to let it happen. And I don't know if that's a smart thing or not. And I don't know what John and Mike think, but that's the way I'm leaning.
Where's Mike gone?
Mike got a missile. He's over in West Tunbridge picking up the pieces.
Mike is on the phone. I'll unmute him. Okay, Mike, you're unmuted.
I don't know. I wasn't there Sunday, but my leanings is you're supposed to go with what the governor's saying. You know, it sounds to me like we shouldn't even have had the tournament last weekend to begin with, and then we're having another one. But if you're going to split it up on two fields and try to control it, then
And it's not this weekend coming, it's the weekend after, so it's not this Saturday and Sunday. It's another, right, guys? Yeah. It's not this weekend, it's not back to back.
5th and 26th.
26.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got a little time. The other thing that would help Kathy and Matt is we got a bunch of food for the cook shack, and I don't know, maybe we're gonna sell some to the dump people this weekend, maybe to win their hearts over again, but we didn't use it all because we didn't open the cook shack on Sunday.
Well, that might help. Free food
Yeah.
on the way to the dump.
Get free food for the dump, and maybe they'll not be so mad at us anymore.
Well, I really think it would help.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
No, I think it would help to have no game this coming weekend. Then it would give people a chance to calm down a little bit maybe. And if you did a really good job the next weekend, it would help out even more.
Okay, that's fair enough.
But I mean,
And it gives us some time to get our ducks in a row too about how we're gonna do it and make it, you know what I mean? We're not trying to scramble. We were scrambling at the end to get all the signs made and get everything done. So now we've got all that stuff done. So that we did do a lot of the things, we did all the things that we said we were going to do. We just didn't control that people were following the rules we set in place. And I really think that's gonna be huge.
so what do you think, John? You think we ought to have another meeting next week or the week after or whatever to make sure that we're confident we can allow this to happen? Or do you, I mean, I don't want to make a decision tonight, I guess.
I agree. Kathy, who else was helping run the tournament? I mean, Todd and others have said it was you and Matt, and at least I was under the impression that you had a sort of team of people helping you run the tournament, and I haven't heard anything about them.
Well, Andy was there. Andy's on the rec committee with us. So me, Matt, and Andy are the only ones on the rec committee that were enforcing anything. So now I'm saying I think all the captains need to be enforcers of the rules.
Katie was too.
No, I
Yeah,
wasn't.
Katie came around when I was still there. Katie came around and made sure everybody was.
Yeah, I was gonna say I enforced a lot of those. I talked to people. I went to the teams while they were in their little, cement pads and stuff, and said, hey, like I enforced it to make sure they had masks. Like I said, if they approached the bench up front, I made sure they knew that they had to wear one over their face, not just on them. So I made my rounds all the way around the whole time. I mean, I like Marisa said, this is a huge part of us, not just because it was for my dad, but because this is like what we do. This is what our community does, and it means a lot to all of us. So
and we had Jessie Wright is on the call. She hasn't talked yet, but she was up at the Cook Shack, and Donna, who's not on the call, was up at the Cook Shack, and they were pretty good about making people and reminding them up in that area to have masks on. And I don't think I went up there at all and didn't see masks on. People were good about wearing them up there, which is where we had the shirts for Kevin's tournament that we sold, and the Cook Shack. But the masks were up there, but you weren't going to see that with all the parking and stuff.
Well, okay.
I think it's right when the guidelines or recommendations from the governor, on all sports says, play safe, play smart, and leave. I think that's, we have to get to that point with softball, and I know a lot of that's in conflict with the community and culture of like farmers markets, which we had to deal in the legislature with. It's a really good time for people, and right now we can't do what we did last year with that. And so I'm hoping that the rec department and the team captains can say, okay, we know that, and we can make this a lot safer.
I think we can.
Yeah, I definitely think there's more of us that will help enforce all of it now that we've been through one. We know what we need to look for and watch out for, and we're all on board to do that.
And we've figured out accommodations like the 2 fields possibly, like the no cornhole, you can't do those things, staying in your tent, staking off your tent, your area. So I think there's a lot of different things we can do. So the way it looked Sunday, Brenda, would be an much easier achievement.
Well, okay. How about we plan to meet again before you play your tournament, so you can review all of your. I mean, you've nailed down the Chelsea field. You've got all of these other things in line, and then we can give you the thumbs up.
Okay. So do you want to do that sometime? I think we have to do that next week, right, guys?
Yeah, that would be the most helpful.
Do we have another meeting in 2 weeks, Gillian? I assume we do.
Yeah, the next one's in 2 weeks, but I think we will have missed the tournament date that they're asking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right, yeah, because it's the 25th and 26th, and 2 weeks from today is the 28th.
yeah.
Okay.
So could we meet next week, Gary, like on Tuesday night?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Or do you guys have a different night that's better?
No, well, I just don't know. I have to ask John and Mike. It's okay for me, I guess. Especially if it's a 6 o'clock meeting.
Yeah, it'll be short. It should be hopefully short.
Kathy, could you, as you were saying, could you get the names of the tournaments, these sort of jamboree style tournaments that are happening, and maybe organizers? Because it would be interesting to talk to them as far as if they're seeing something we're not, or if they're organized in ways that would help us.
Okay, I can do some research.
Maybe they have something from the state that's totally different than what we just have not been able to find it.
Can I just toss in this tidbit? Coincidentally, I met with the town's insurance, like loss control person today. And our insurance is through VLCT, the passive program. And we sent him the waiver that you guys have been having team captains fill out, and he thought it was a good idea. He did suggest that each individual sign the waiver, not the team captain on behalf of the entire team. And he also suggested that we have our town lawyer look it over as well. So I'm just letting John and Mike know that. Gary knows that, but John and Mike don't.
We have one of those. Yeah, we have one of those done, Jillian. We had all individuals sign the waiver.
Great. I didn't know just what you were doing. I thought last I heard it was the team captains doing it.
I have a huge stack of waivers signed.
Great.
I think something like, if we could use the 2 fields, and then you could schedule games with enough gap in between, so a game's played and finished before the next game begins, that would help a lot because it would move you much closer to that league, like a regular league game rather than a jamboree tournament.
Okay, West Tunbridge,
Yeah,
what's your opinion? Are you okay with having a meeting next week?
yeah, I guess so.
Okay, well, let's do that. Gather all your information and we'll meet again next Tuesday night, maybe, 7 o'clock.
Can I just throw in one thing for Kathy? You know, I'm not trying to hand you more work. Maybe one of you others have got it too. Just see if we can beef up the waiver a little bit where it's trying to address the town of Tunbridge due to the pandemic, you know, a purpose. Instead of just that feeling that if I sign this, I don't have to wear a mask because now the town of Tunbridge is free with my liability. I've signed off. So make me.
Okay. Marianne worked on that, so I will talk to her about your suggestion.
Oh, she'd be great.
Yep, and see if we can make some adjustments and have that ready also.
Is the Heath Field owned by the town of Chelsea? Is it similar to our rec field?
I don't know. I don't know that.
I think it is.
I believe so.
Yeah, they have a rec committee and everything that runs it.
Yep. I think it's very similar.
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much
All right,
for attending.
Thank you guys very much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Take right home.
Thanks.
Thanks.
See you Tuesday.
See you Tuesday.
Okay.
West Tunbridge, are you still there?
Yeah, I think so.
Sounds like you.
It's just a phone number.
Did you get enough of that conversation to understand what the end result
I
was?
missed some of the first part of it, but I guess I got enough of the rest of it.
Okay, good.
I'm stuck in a phone booth out here. So
In a foxhole.
It's a red phone booth.
All right, Brenda, do you have anything more for us or any comments?
I guess my only comments were pretty much what we brought up. If we're going to follow guidelines, let's try to follow the guidelines on there. You know, restricting the tournament. I'm kind of picking up that they want to have multiple teams. And then on the other hand, if we crack down and said 2 teams play and then they leave, the next one comes in, that they probably would accept that.
I think
did like Sunday. I liked it a lot better. I don't think you would get as much pushback from townspeople. I do think that waiver is real important that we have on there, that our intent as a town is to follow the guidelines to control this. It isn't just, sign off and do what I want now. Let's see, the only other thing is, I don't know if are you going to talk about alcohol later?
Jillian has sent us a sample.
Of alcohol?
Ordinance.
made out of corn, I think.
Yeah. And I read it and I don't remember much about it now, but I haven't read this recent one.
My thoughts on this alcohol thing is I kind of want to read all this stuff and kind of go through it. I think we ought to at least mention it tonight, but I want to kind of get something in my head and maybe even give Jillian some suggestions of writing up something. And then next meeting, deciding what we want to do definitely.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump. I don't want to say tonight that we're going to, do something before I get a little more information here.
Right, because there was the sample from Middlebury that was like pages and pages long. And then there was the one from Randolph that was basically a page and a half or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
I sent you, I forwarded you an email I got from Gwen, lawyer from VLCT.
And she had 4 or 5 more there.
She's had, 5 more sample policies. So,
And
it'd be good if you chose one that you like that I could have ready for even next week.
Right.
But I guess you're not ready to choose one that you like.
Not tonight.
Well, when we have to go through some sort of the ordinance protocol too.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes, you would. I think the only difference with ordinance versus policy is there's a period of time where the public can
Comment.
contest it, or not contest it, but yeah, comment and yeah. But I will look up that protocol a lot more closely when we get to that point. But I think sorry.
Let's just make it a point. One of our action items for each one of us select board members is to look over all of those and choose the best one or parts of the best ones or whatever, and we'll make a solid decision by next meeting.
Even if you guys could copy and paste, and just make a Frankenstein document. I'm not a finished one. I'm just saying, like, it's a lot easier.
What are you talking about?
You guys can go to like,
mute myself.
like a career, like a tech office computer school for me, please. Okay.
Put that in the budget.
I'm just saying it would be easier if, rather than us sitting here and you reciting to me all of the pieces of each policy that you like, if you could cut and even print them all out and cut them with scissors and glue them, that's fine.
Mike, I'll send you some paste.
My paste is all dried up.
I'll use Scotch tape.
That works
Okay.
too. Scotch tape's great.
Yeah.
Well, one reason I was asking about the Heathfield is because I wonder what Chelsea's policy on that is.
I
Right.
looked at Chelsea's website to see if they had an alcohol use policy, and as far as I could tell on their website, they don't. They have an employee one, but not public.
Yeah.
Just because, right? I mean, the only defense of alcohol at the ball field is because it's always been there, which isn't really a very
Right.
good reason to have alcohol there. And as we saw with Brenda's incident, I think, but in general, alcohol doesn't make people nicer or safer. So yeah, I think it's probably time to revisit, and just to be consistent too. Like, when I'm getting complaints on the phone of people saying, well, you wouldn't, have a beer at a school board meeting, or, open a keg at the town offices on a Friday. So we should probably be consistent on that.
Yeah.
One thing that might be that I might need guidance on from like a professional, like VLCT or a lawyer, is how to get the town hall thing. Like, people can drink at the town hall, but you have to get we're just gonna have to sort that out within the ordinance, which is I don't think I have the skill to write that.
One of these, I can't remember what these, alcohol policies we've got.
Can't really hear you, Mike. You're cutting out.
Okay.
Sorry. You can hang up and call my house phone and tell me if you want.
No, I'll just review it, and then we'll have suggestions next time.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Do you mean next week or next normal select board meeting?
Next time I talk to you.
Oh. Tomorrow morning.
Yes.
Okay.
And Jillian, and maybe if you have do you have any communication with your parallel assistant in Chelsea? Because it would be interesting to see what they do as far as alcohol policy in general, but more specifically at these sorts of games.
Hmm. I don't, and as far as I know, they're actually trying to hire a new select board assistant. I don't know if that means their current one is gone or what, but the clerk might know. I could call Karen.
Right.
But what about Royalton or Sharon?
Yeah, I don't, it's funny, I don't talk to any of the,
I actually reached out to the select board in Sharon. I couldn't get hold of the Royalton one, and they said they don't usually allow it there because it's attached to the school anyway, so they're not doing it. Plus, they're not doing horseshoes this year. They're worried about COVID.
Yep.
Is Chelsea doing horseshoes?
That I
Haven't
don't
heard.
know.
You know, and there may even be, similar to the town hall, there may be a way to have alcohol at, you know, in the future at a softball tournament if you have a certified bartender who's willing to take on liability and who will be responsible.
in the Middlebury policy, they issue permits. Oh, maybe it wasn't theirs. Maybe it was.
No, I think they said that town,
Yeah.
private or public functions at town-owned, municipal-owned properties could, you know, serve alcohol if it was sanctioned.
That seems really scary to me, to try to figure out, like, to put that on you guys to decide. I don't know. It just seems like it would get a lot more complicated if you were gonna.
Well, how do we do it? How do we do it now with the town hall with
They, anybody has to give a certificate of insurance. I know that, even whether or not you're serving alcohol, or event insurance. Or maybe
if I rent the town hall, can I do BYOB there for my own private birthday party?
I think you can. I think you have to insure as such and prove that.
Right.
You have
Yeah, I
insurance.
think you have to show insurance.
And you can, and then I think the whole bartender thing, that is just, we would get the bartender's insurance.
Right.
But it's not so much we issue, Judy really could answer this better than me, but I don't think we issue permits to be able to serve alcohol at the town hall. It's just you have to provide whatever documentation in order to be able to.
So if it's a shindig or if it's Sprockle Bank wanting to do an event with alcohol, they just need insurance.
I'm not 100% sure. I can ask Judy what the protocol is. Maybe it says on the website, actually. But I was just thinking about if you had to decide, if the board had to decide before every event who wanted to serve alcohol, I mean, then what are the criteria for deciding whether or not they can? I don't know, it just seems sketchy.
Yeah, complicated.
Yeah. Let's see. Gentle agreement. Alcohol. If alcohol will be sold, provided, or consumed at the event, this is at the town hall, renter agrees to the following additional terms. Security deposit of $100 is due. Renter will procure and maintain at its sole cost and expense insurance in which the town of Tunbridge is an additional insured with a combined single limit coverage of $1 million per occurrence and $1 million in aggregate. Certificate of insurance will be provided to the town prior to the event. If the renter will provide alcohol at no charge or allow alcohol to be brought to the premises by guests, BYOB, host liquor insurance must be purchased. If you're selling alcohol, liquor liability insurance must be purchased. Host and liquor insurance can be purchased online as a rider on the town's policy. So there is a way to ride on the town's policy for people who want to do that. You can't provide alcohol to underage people at the town hall. And we do not condone irresponsible use of alcoholic beverages. as a town.
Interesting.
I never knew that. And do you see those things, Jillian, or does Judy?
It all goes to Judy, and then Judy will periodically, after an event's over, she hangs on to all the rental agreement and the copies of insurance and everything, and then she'll give it to me to just file after the event.
I wonder if there's any way to just have that same application for the ball field, or is that just foolish?
Well, and I wonder, Gary, is it, would the same be true of the town forest, or, kegger at the transfer station, friends of the dump really wanting to have a big party? I don't know. I mean, if it's a town-wide, town property policy, or just for the town hall, because that's the place where functions happen.
Right. Well, I mean, when we have our alcohol policy, then we could specify that only applies to the town hall, I suppose, too.
Right. Or the ball field, or the forest, or whatever.
Town garage.
Yeah. And I wonder if, something like the school under FBUD is, has their own rules and regulations because it's an educational facility.
Probably.
And I don't know, right, are there any cases where alcohol would be allowed at a school hosted event, like a fundraiser?
No. Okay, well, let's put that on our to-do list and we'll revisit it. Well, we'll come to conclusion the next scheduled select board meeting on the 28th.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds good.
Are you all set with me?
I think so, yeah.
I've got a little kid making me a birthday gift.
Whose birthday?
I was the 4th. It's
Oh,
already
you?
over. He's just late catching up to me.
Oh, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
It's
Happy
an easy one. The 4th of July,
Birthday.
everybody has to celebrate my birthday.
I knew that too.
Okay. Thanks, you guys.
All right,
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Brenda.
thank you.
Will you join us next Tuesday?
I'll go write it on my calendar.
That would
Yeah.
be good.
I'll see ya.
Yeah.
Great. Did you guys see the noise and also dumping ordinances that I sent?
Yep.
I saw the dumping one. I forgot to look at the noise.
I didn't read it.
You didn't read it, Mike?
I glanced at them, but I didn't read them too thoroughly.
I read them whenever it was last week and I've already forgotten most of it, but so I ought to review that again too. Because we ought to have some sort of a week timeline on when we want to deal with that stuff too.
You can have an ordinance bonanza.
Yeah. Retreat.
Can we serve alcohol?
Depends on the alcohol ordinance that you pass.
Right.
Oh,
Can we do it in
If
West?
the health officer is serving.
Oh, that would be
I got it.
Tunbridge.
I got a. The first time to get married, they had the reception in Green Top, East Bethel. Well, ever since then, there's no alcohol on the grounds at the East Bethel Green Top.
It only takes one.
They get a little rough there, so.
All right. What next, madam?
Well, that
So-
was it.
Just quickly, back to ordinances. So, Jillian, did your somehow collate all our various ordinances, or?
No, I'm in process. Actually, I'm very
Okay.
excited about this. I've told Gary, I think, but so I am slowly going through a bunch of files that were brought up to me by Betsy and Linda when they were cleaning out the vault downstairs. And I've found BCA minutes, and I haven't found any ordinances yet, but I bet I will. And I talked to the clerk in South Royalton, and she has it's called the Town Records Book that goes in the land records. It's officially recorded, and it's just like any miscellaneous, anything other than select board minutes, like BCA minutes, town meeting minutes, ordinances, every single thing. It gets indexed well so that you can find them in the book, in the land records. And then once they're there, it's permanent record, and I can just like keep it there. So I was making some real headway on all those files, going through them, and then people started requesting absentee ballots. So that has taken up a extremely substantial amount of my time. But anyways, so no, I haven't collated all of them yet, but I'm working on it, and I'm really excited about getting them in one place.
Because potentially, right, we could pass an ordinance when we already have an ordinance.
Yes, that's a potential. Yeah, I don't know what would happen in that case.
Probably the most recent
So
one.
Yeah.
take the most recent one.
Yeah.
Well, that would be good to have them all in one file.
I know. I'm so excited.
Now, a question came up today about the primary. So people are still going to be able to go in person and vote, right? Because there's confusion, I think, with the primary and the general election.
Yeah. I don't think we've gotten our official marching orders about the general election yet from the Secretary of State on whether, I think what the rumor is that there will still be a physical polling place for the general election as well, but they're planning to send ballots instead of these cards to everybody for the general election. That's still, I'm not sure that's official yet, but that's what's brewing. Yes, but the primary will be, you can still vote in person.
Like a drive-in voting like we did for the school budget?
No, we're gonna have the tabulator, which needs to be running. And I also am not anticipating many people, so I'm planning on doing it in the town hall basement where it typically happens. And just, I am super lucky. Joe, Todd Tyson, Maxine, and Betsy Sponable have all said that they want to help. And I'm not sure about Betsy, but Maxine, Todd, and Joe can all work the full 12 hours, which means I'll have fewer people working, even if they're working different shifts. So there will be a maximum of like 5 people actually working the polls that day instead of like 12 or whatever. And it was really all 4 of them actually reached out to me to volunteer to help. So that's really nice. So I'm just planning on spacing all the booths out really well. And the Secretary of State provided this whole PPE kit for election workers, and yeah, I feel good about it.
Good. All right, anything more about elections?
Yeah, never mind.
Can people still just call you and ask for an absentee ballot?
Yes, they can request over the phone, and they can also request online. They cannot request via email. They can leave I think they can leave a message on my voicemail,
But you just said they can request online, but they can't do it by email.
Oh, sorry. I mean through the My Voter page, which is the official elections online system that you can log into and see everything about your voter registration and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
what next?
Okay, well, so let's clarify. You guys are gonna look at all the sample policies that I sent you, and we'll talk about it on the 28th.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, but I'm not gonna have, I probably won't have, what, Mike?
Maybe we'll give you some suggestions and you can whip up something
Mm-hmm.
by next meeting.
Potentially, if I feel like I can do that. I'm worried. I don't really want to write the policy.
I don't think you have to.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that works for me. If one of you want, or all of you want to send suggestions between now and next meeting, I can do that.
If we look at Middlebury's policy and we say, boy, that looks good except for
Mm-hmm.
section A1, you know, then you could just take it from there.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, if you guys do that, I will try to have a potential ordinance for each of these 3 different things, or whatever you suggest for next time for signing. If you don't do that, we'll just, maybe you could pick a sample that you like by next meeting. And don't, make sure that you don't all talk about the ordinances and the samples and all that in the same email, because that's considered an unwarned meeting. So if you want to send suggestions to me, just send them to me. Don't send them to all of you. Or if you do send them to all of you, don't respond. Okay.
So I'm still confused about policy versus ordinance. So the way you're describing it is if, like, say you copied and pasted something that we all liked, then we sign it, and then what? Then presto, there's a town policy.
I actually don't. That's a really good question. It's my understanding, though, that the way to regulate the actions of the public, the best way to do it would be to make it an ordinance. I'm not sure how policies are used to regulate the public, but
These samples we got are all ordinances.
yeah, that's why I get the impression that an ordinance, like, I feel like policies are more for internal, you know, within the town and the employees within the town. Or, like, actually, I guess you have a purchasing policy. So like but that's about town business. This is what the town adheres to. This is the policy the town adheres to. Where if it's an ordinance, this is what you're making your citizens adhere to.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Okay.
I've got to go get some chickens in, so I'm going to take a 5-minute break. They've escaped.
Good luck.
What are we talking about? I'll think about it as I chase chickens around the yard.
Ordinance.
Ordinance versus policy.
Well, what are we going to talk about next?
Yeah.
Just minutes and warrants and orders.
Okay. Talk about warrants, because Mike's good on that. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I went through the warrant and didn't see anything. This was a big time though. We got the Orange County dues and the ambulance and everything. We got whacked pretty good, but it was all stuff we knew was going to happen. And I didn't see anything out of line, I guess.
Okay, well, I didn't look at them because apparently they didn't come in until late this afternoon. And
That's
so
correct. The only thing, Jillian, I don't know if you know, it said something about mowing at the, I assume at the rec field, and it was United Ag and Turf North. What the hell is that?
How much did it cost?
It's the former LF Trottiers.
okay. Probably work on the mower. Okay.
Aren't you buying the bagger for the mower?
Right.
Yeah, but this is only $64.
Oh.
But, yeah, I don't know.
I may have read it wrong. It may be $486.
Yeah, I don't remember what the bagger was going to cost.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Yeah.
$700 was what the mower business was going to cost.
So I thought, no, I think it said mowing, but maybe it was just a repair or something.
Yep.
Okay, I just didn't recognize that name.
That's sad they sold.
That is sad.
They kind of had to.
Hmm.
So the rest of the warrant looks okay?
Yep.
Okay, well, we'll wait
Yep.
till John gets back at herding chickens, and then we'll see if he has any comments, and then we can take a motion on that. What about the minutes?
I sent you the ones from the last meeting and the ones from before that meeting as well, because I put this in the email that I completely left out a chunk where you guys reappointed Brenda to the South Royalton Rescue
Yeah.
Advisory Committee. So I added that chunk in, but that means they need to be reapproved.
All right, well, I did see that, both of those, and they were okay with me, but I'm not good at spelling and punctuation, so. One of my many
They looked
flaws.
okay. They looked okay to me, but I'm not very good at punctuation or spelling.
Quick, make a motion before John says anything.
Yeah, you're trying to get out of it.
Make a motion if you want, I'll see if I can second it.
Oh, okay. I
you know-
make a motion, we accept the 2 minutes from the 2 previous meetings.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other business?
Not that I know of.
Are your chickens in or are they out?
Mine actually are in the freezer.
Oh. I heard a joke about that once, but it's not that clean.
Okay. You can always know where your chickens are if they're in the freezer.
Yep. One thing I had, and I'll just talk about it, maybe John will come back. The Town Forest Committee is going to meet next week because, well, we have a normal meeting anyway, but the school is very, very, very interested in using the town forest lot at the town garage to open school. Maybe they're talking about maybe even having school, holding school there for 8 weeks. And so we're going to meet with the principal, hopefully, and Amy, and maybe Miss Howe, to see what their plans are and to coordinate maybe for the school opening. And I met with Matt Loftus last night about making a new road up into the lot, because it's very, very steep road now up to where the school does their curiositorium. And so he thinks maybe he can get the road done before school opens. And of course, we'll have to have that okayed by the select board, because we don't know how much it's going to cost yet. And any money from the town forest account has to be okayed to be spent by the select board. So that's a brief review of what's happening there.
That's cool.
See, I told Rodney somebody'd spill the beans tonight, because he was asking me what the hell you were doing over there.
He could have asked me and I would have told him.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
anything else?
so they want to actually hold classes up there or something?
Yep. I don't know much about it, but that's what I hear.
Huh.
And I think mostly to instead of just taking kids and, oh, here comes John.
The chicken farmer's back.
Did you get them all?
What did I miss? We got them all.
Did you get them in the freezer?
Oh, they're egg layers, so.
Mike says his chickens are in the freezer.
No, that's the kind I have.
Yeah. Anyway, what you missed was I was reviewing that the town forest committee is going to meet with the new principal from the school and Amy and Miss Howe next Wednesday night, week from tomorrow night, because the school may want to hold maybe as much as 8 weeks worth of classes at the beginning of the year at the town forest lot where they have the curiositorium. And so that's what's going on there. And I also met with Matt Loftus last night about making a road, a better road up in there instead of having that really steep ski trail.
So, Gary, would that be a sort of 8-week curiositorium because it also works with social distancing and being outdoors is safer?
I think so, but I talked to Amy about it, but I haven't talked to, what's the new principal's name?
Michael Livingston.
Livingston, yeah. I guess he is very excited about the whole thing from what I hear from Amy. So we the town forest committee want to get together with them to help coordinate this whole thing and make sure it can work. And then, of course, some money will have to be spent if Matt makes a new road up in there. So I'll come back to the select board to okay the money to be spent for that. So it's just, that's what I know about it so far, but I'm pretty tickled about that. I think it'll be an awesome thing to do.
Is there money in our sort of town forest fund from the logging that we could use for the road?
Yeah, Becky says there's 4,800. I think there ought to be between 6,000 and 7,000. So I've got to get to Becky and figure that out.
I was thinking there was around 7 in there.
There should be 7, but Becky says there's only 4,800. Because I know we got 1,000 from one when Calvin Johnson logged the big pine trees, and then we got 6,000 when Jimmy Welch did the actual logging. So I think there's 7,000 there. So anyway, that's where that stands.
Okay. I make a motion we accept the warrant.
I second it.
Okay. All right. All in favor of accepting the warrants as presented, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
So we accepted the minutes while you were gone, John, from the last 2 meetings.
Okay. Oh, I just had. They're quite acceptable, Jillian. No mistakes, okay?
Wait, really?
Well, I just, in one, it said the school budget was down 23%.
Well, I think it meant that they were only able to spend 87% of what they did last year because the budget didn't pass. But I'm not sure if that's right now.
But that would be 13%, not 23.
That'd be 13, yeah.
Oh, that's funny, Matt.
I just had a question about that number.
Okay, wait. What date was that from?
The last meeting.
What day is it now?
The steel day. 7/14.
Okay.
So that was from the last June meeting, Jillian.
Okay, 6/23.
It's Tuesday, Jillian.
Okay. All right, I will fix that. Oh yeah, budget by. That's so funny.
Yeah, the school board wouldn't think that's very funny.
Okay, by 13%.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I just had a informational question about, and maybe Becky would know more about this, is when you reference that we have to pay the school the entire sum we owe them, just how that works, isn't it? Does it flow through our supervisory union? Does it flow through FBUD? Do we pay the state like some enormous amount of money? I don't know.
I would ask Becky, but my impression is that we just, I don't think it goes through the state. It probably either goes directly to the supervisory union or to the the district.
So that number, the number in parallel to like what we have in our select board budget, if it says that the town will raise so much, by taxes for the school system, that's the amount of that check that we actually pay.
It's a lump sum that needs to be paid. I can't remember how many days she said. It's like,
It's 20 days.
15 days.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's a big check.
She doesn't
It is
like
a big check.
she doesn't like doing it. Yeah.
And just if there were, what we referenced earlier, if there were a lot of taxpayers who felt they couldn't pay their taxes on time, we would run right into that.
Exactly.
We'd have to borrow money to pay the school.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Otherwise, I approve.
Okay, great. I made that change.
Good. Oh, Jillian, one thing that came up at fire meeting the other night, and I know you talked to Simon about this, but they thinking going forward about this, their next sort of rescue assault truck they're going to get. It sounds like not unlike our Dodge, it's like a 5500 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to know the weights on all the bridges and maybe the posted weights, and maybe, I don't know if unofficially their weights for what those bridges can actually hold in an emergency.
Yeah.
And also heights too. So I don't know if you have a bridges file, if there are heights and weights for every covered bridge plus the Foundry Bridge.
Right. I did have a list at some point of all the posted weight limits.
And heights too, because they're all different.
I didn't have the heights. I don't know who, I guess V-Trans probably has that on file. They should. Or maybe we do somewhere. I've never seen it in the office. I feel like I called somebody about exemptions for emergency vehicles, and did I talk to any of you about that? Maybe I dreamt it.
Well, you were going to.
I think you dreamt it.
I think okay, well, whoever I called, I'll just call them again.
Chris Baum.
Let me check my email, because maybe I emailed Chris.
And we were wondering about even like the New South Royalton ambulance, whether that could fit through all the bridges, or is it too tall?
Oh, here's the answer. Yeah, I don't know about the height, but Chris Bump sent me the statute about, it's Title 23, Chapter 13, Subchapter 15, Section 1399. Nothing contained in sections 1391 to 1398 of this title, which is, shall restrict the weight of snow plows, road machines, oilers, traction engines, tractors, rollers, power shovels, dump wagons, trucks, blah, 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 blah. However, any operation, I'm sorry, nothing contained in sections 1391 to 1398 of this title shall restrict the weight of municipal and volunteer fire apparatus. So basically any law, any statute having to do with weight limits on bridges does not apply to emergency vehicles. Height's a different thing, obviously. I think, but that's probably not regulated by statute. That's just like, if your truck doesn't fit, you can't drive through it.
But do state statutes then just defer on municipal trucks and fire trucks to common sense?
I don't know. It just says nothing nothing contained in sections 1391 to 1398, which are, I think are I don't have them right in front of me, but I think those are the sections that regulate weight on roads and bridges. It says nothing in those sections shall restrict the weight of municipal and volunteer fire apparatus. That's what Chris sent me. So sounds like, no.
What if you got a big box truck?
It's too tall.
That's
It's restricted.
tall.
It's that Pam Thurber, who I don't know what her position is, but Chris must have forwarded my email to her. She works for the government. She's the one that sent me the statute. She said, while the last sentence says that nothing in the statute would restrict the weight, ultimately the bridges are town assets and the decision on crossing would be the town's, given its knowledge of each bridge's condition, which can change over time, and history of maintenance and upkeep. So the state, I guess, is putting it in the town's hands to decide if you want to restrict the weight of fire apparatus, vehicles, and emergency things and all that.
Quite a few years ago, I talked to a guy from up in Calais who was a bridge person from the state, and he had a lot of practical knowledge about covered bridges, for instance. And I don't remember the guy's name now, but it seems like we ought to talk to somebody like that will give us some practical sense of what a bridge would hold for a maximum weight of somebody just flying through with an emergency vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I don't remember that guy's name.
Probably Chris Bump would know who it was, Gary.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's got to be a bridge section or something, because this guy seems like he's specialized in bridges. But yeah, Chris should know, or somebody should know.
Historic bridges especially, right? Because Vermont has enough, so it's not like, oh, there are 4 covered bridges, you know,
well,
for the
also,
150.
there's also every 5 years or something like that, somebody from the State Bridges Association or whatever reviews our bridges and sees any faults they have, and we get a report from them. So there might be one of those reports somewhere in that pile of paperwork you have, or with somebody's name on it. And I'll look in my file too. Maybe I've got something like that.
I'm sorry. Betsy Race emailed a half hour ago asking to be admitted to the meeting, and I never saw her trying to get admitted.
Alcohol?
The health officer. We just mentioned her an hour ago.
Oh wait, I was gonna say something. Oh, okay. When the Flint Bridge got hit, an email went out between all these different state people, and they were like the bridge state people.
Yeah.
Rita Sita was involved. Okay, I'll just try and find somebody to talk to about the bridge.
Mike, do you know, is it the Gifford covered bridge that has some I-beams in it?
Right.
Was that done so it could support heavier vehicles, or was it just done so it wouldn't fall into the river?
The bridge is still posted for like 3 ton or something, but supposedly you could drive a town truck across it. You know, because that was, you know, it was built extra heavy,
right,
to hold the bridge and stuff, but they still have the weight limit really low. And I think that's the same with most covered bridges. I think they post them at, 6,000 pounds or something, but a lot of them could take a lot more than that. It's just, you don't want to be hauling wagon loads of corn over them day after day after day.
Right.
All right, does Betsy still want to come on board?
I don't know. No, she's not waiting. I have to go through and admit people who are waiting to enter, and I don't know what she meant when she emailed earlier.
Well, she's giving me the finger out of her kitchen window. I don't know what that means.
Did you speak with her back?
Well, I just thought, I don't keep an eye on my email through the whole meeting, so I didn't, whatever. I didn't know.
Well,
I know she was pretty concerned about the softball tournament thing after Brenda called her. 'Cause she called me after Brenda called her last Sunday. And so she was concerned about that. I don't know if that's what she wanted to talk about or not. But maybe the administrative assistant could send her back an email and say we're going to talk about it again next Tuesday at 7.
Yep. And I did just send her the invitation to enter the meeting if she wanted to, like right now.
Okay.
So, but I still don't see her waiting.
Anything else for our meeting tonight?
No, I think my chicken's getting cold. So,
It's in the freezer.
oh, that's right.
So Gary, there was a successful conclusion to the culvert issue on, was it the Holly Hall, Whitney Hill Road?
Well, it hasn't concluded yet, but the plan, the plan is that they've agreed that if Rodney suggested that the town buy a culvert, because the culvert that was there was not plugged, but it was kind of sort of covered up with a bunch of crap and vegetation and stuff. But it was a 12-inch, and the state requires that we have at least a minimum of 18 inches. And so Rodney suggested that the town buy the culvert and the Halls pay to put the culvert in and a DI, a drop inlet. And it would, then they could place the DI where they want it. And if you go up there now, there's a white painted square on the driveway where it's going to go. And so they've agreed to do that. So at some point, Rodney will get the message from the Halls that they want the culvert. Rodney will bring the culvert, dump it on their site, and then they will hire Rod Clark, I think, to install the culvert. And they will tell Rodney also that when they're going to do that, so Rodney can put up a sign saying road will be closed on next Tuesday or something like that. So it seems like everything's in hand.
Great.
I think that's all the issues that Rodney had. And that's all I've got. My chickens are in.
Is Jillian giving me a dirty look?
I think so, yeah. No, now
Okay. I make a motion we adjourn the meeting then.
I second it.
all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Well, it's been good to see you.